Hey everybody. So obviously, Space Marine 2 just came out recently, and I'm sure a lot of people are comparing it to Helldivers 2. And I don't think that this is an unfair comparison. After all, it's obvious that the Helldivers franchise has taken a lot of inspiration from the 40K franchise. And I think it did so in a very well-meaning way. It didn't, rip off all of these ideas and just blatantly steal. It's obviously kind of almost a love letter, not just to 40K, but to many other franchises out there. It's kind of this amalgamation of these awesome ideas put into its own world. And a lot of people, of course, are making the comparison between the two games. Obviously, Helldivers 2 has been having quite a bit of trouble lately. This channel, obviously, was founded on Helldivers 2 content, and I've kind of stepped away from that. And that's not because I don't like Helldivers 2 anymore. It's just because the discourse around the game and the community has just been a little bit too much. Now, on top of that, I have actually taken a break from playing Helldivers 2. It's simply because me and my buddies have played a lot of it. Now, I know there's players out there who have, 500 hours in the game, and they're still not done with it. But I'm a much more casual player. I don't play every single day. I don't play, for 12 hours straight. I play once a week when my buddies can get on and we have a fun time. And so we just needed a break from that game. And it's also because there were some issues in the game that were just a little frustrating, especially like the recent nerf to flamethrower weapons, which actually, if you keep up to date with the game, they're actually reverting, I believe, here soon in September. So it's good to see that the developers in Helldivers 2 are listening to the community. Obviously, they want to make their game a very specific way. They want things to work a specific way, but that way it's not jiving with the fans very well. It's not working out. And so they make these nerfs and changes and add in these new ideas that the fans are just like, hey, we really don't want that. We don't understand the direction you're trying to take this game. So obviously, that's a big thing going on with Helldivers 2. And so it's kind of almost perfect timing for Space Marine 2 and pretty bad timing for Helldivers 2 that, Space Marine 2 has released. Now, I can't say this enough, but Space Marine 2 and Helldivers 2, I think, are very different games. Yes, they kind of occupy the same genre of space guy fighting aliens. Again, the similarities are obvious because Helldivers 2 takes so much inspiration from 40K, as we said earlier. But I think at the end of the day, people are kind of looking at these two games on a very base level. Hey, you're a space guy, you're fighting these swarms of bugs, and it's a third-person shooter, and you can play with friends. Therefore, they're pretty much the same game. But I think they kind of scratch different itches. Helldivers 2, to me, has always felt very purposely built for multiplayer co-op shenanigans. You and your buddies jumping in, barely surviving, laughing, team killing, all these crazy shenanigans, things going horribly wrong and stuff like that. While Space Marine 2, at least from what I've played of it, feels a lot more focused on, hey, here's the campaign, here's some co-op missions that you can play together, and then here's a player versus player mode. And so Space Marine 2, to me, personally, feels like a much more, I'm going to say, traditional game. It feels very much like a video game that came out in the 2010s era. And I mean that in a good way. I don't mean that it has the issues of those games from that time period, but it feels really just like one of those games. And Helldivers 2 is not one of those games. It's a live service game. It's a live service game built where you can jump in, play a couple rounds, and then leave the game and then not mess with the game until a new update comes out. And I think that's totally fine. But that question keeps coming up, and I keep people saying it, that Space Marine 2 has officially killed Helldivers 2. And I kind of want to challenge that statement by making my own statement, which is Helldivers 2 has shot itself in the foot multiple times. And Space Marine 2 is a really good game. But I don't think that anybody should be looking at Space Marine 2 as a replacement for Helldivers 2. I don't think that they should say, hey, I really liked Helldivers 2, but I don't like what's going on with the developers and all the changes. Therefore, I'm going to replace it with Space Marine 2. I think both of these games can live together at the same time and go on. Now, that being said, it is easier to recommend Space Marine 2 right now because Helldivers 2, while it's, quote-unquote an older game, it's not old, it's having a lot of troubles right now. And so if you're like me and you're trying not to just play one game for the rest of your life, then yes, of course, I would highly suggest picking up Space Marine 2. It's so much fun playing both solo but also with friends, both the campaign and the co-op. I haven't tried player versus player yet with my buddies. I don't know if they want to or not. But it is such a fun game, and I think it's a great way to take a break from Helldivers 2, but still kind of exist in that same type of world. The setting that these games take place in are very similar, and I think that's something that's just so awesome. We need more games like this. We need more cooperative space-killing bug games. I know there is the Starship Troopers game out there. I need to pick that up and try it. I know there's other games like Deep Rock Galactic, which kind of also fit into that co-op kill bug type of genre, but we need more of these games, and we need more of games on both ends of the spectrum. Live service games like Helldivers 2, which for the most part have done the live service model pretty well. Obviously, it's the changes and the patches that are really hurting the game, not the way the live service is run. We need those types of games, and we also really, really need more games like Space Marine 2, which just feel like, again, I had to go back to that analogy, these kind of golden age 2010 video games, you know, like Gears of War, some of the earlier Halo games, or for me personally, the Transformers War for Cybertron games, which is, hey, here's a story campaign that you can play with buddies, here's some co-op missions or an endless horde mode, and then here's multiplayer, and boom, there you go. It's there it is. So I think Helldivers 2 and Space Marine 2 are great examples of both ends of the spectrum being done right. Again, Helldivers 2, it's got a lot of problems right now, and I hope the developers can turn things around. Looks like they're making some changes to win the fans back over, which is good. I'm happy, but I think they need to do a lot of work to get there. And Space Marine 2, it's not perfect either. There's some things there that I'm like, what? There's only 3 maps for PvP? Come on, let's... You launch with 3 maps? So again, neither game is perfect, but I think both of them occupy different spaces in a very similar world, and they're both just fun games. So, did Space Marine 2 kill Helldivers 2? No. Helldivers 2 shot itself in the foot, and it's desperately trying to stop the bleeding, which I think is good, and Space Marine 2 just happened to come along at the right time to kind of pick up all the players who have had enough of Helldivers 2 and its issues. That's all for me, guys, though. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. What are your opinions on the situation? Thanks for watching, and as always, see you guys on the next one.